So happy to welcome everyone today to a master class. This is new for Friday Cafe. As people are coming in, would you please introduce yourself in the chat? Just say good morning. You don't have to say good morning, but let us know who you are, your title and your district, where you're from, because we have people from outside of Connecticut. I think we may have people from outside of the US. So that's one of the beauties of being able to host Friday Cafe virtually a few times a year. So welcome. I'm Judy Carson. I'm with the State Department of Education in Connecticut in the United States. And this is a first master class for Friday Cafe. This is a follow-up, actually, to Friday Cafe from last month, where we talked about relational leadership with a relational leader, Julie Church, who's a principal at an elementary school, using these techniques. And so after this fabulous session, you may want to go check out that Friday Cafe session. It's recorded and it's on YouTube, and we will put the link in the chat in just a bit. So I'm joined here by, oh, please mute as you come in. Thank you. All right. Let's see. So I'm joined by my colleague and sponsor of Friday Cafe, the Statewide Family Engagement Center, and Dr. Veronica Marion, who's the director there. And then you'll be meeting our dynamic, stellar panel of conversation catalysts, Dr. George Otero, who founded the Center for Relational Learning in Santa Fe, and Lisa Otero, the program director. Ann Henderson, who's a senior consultant with the National Association for Family, School, and Community Engagement, NAFSCE. And if you don't know about NAFSCE, it is our professional organization for the field of school, family, community partnerships. And we're delighted to welcome our practitioner in residence this morning, Kylea Carswell, who is the Director of Family and Parent Engagement, Polk County Public Schools in Florida, where we just learned it's very cold. It's like it's under freezing this morning in Florida. So we welcome her to Connecticut, where it's also very cold. Next slide, please.
Nope.
So if you're new to Friday Cafe, and we have many people who are new to Friday Cafe, so welcome. We're really excited that you're here, that you've joined us, and we hope that you'll be able to join us many times. And for those in Connecticut, please join us in person in March and in May. Those will be in-person sessions. So what do we do at Friday Cafe? These are our goals and values. We strive to connect people in this field. So we know we come from many different titles and responsibilities, but at the heart, we're all trying to connect families and learning and build relationships. We're here to spark creativity and ideas and give you new ways of thinking about family engagement from presenters who are experts, but also from colleagues. At its heart, Friday Cafe is a peer-to-peer network. And then one of our other goals is to lead alongside families. And I think today's session is really going to help us think about that. How do you lead alongside families? Well, crucial to that is putting relationships first. Families and students really know how our systems work and really know how our systems could be improved because they're living with our policies and our practices, and they know it firsthand. So as we develop trusting, respectful relationships with families, they teach us how our systems work, and we can lead together with families to improve things, to really benefit outcomes for our students. Our connection today is really about focusing on family engagement and student learning. And so we're going to highlight that through the lens of putting relationships first. So with that, I want to turn it over to my colleague, Dr. Veronica Marion, to learn a little bit more about the Statewide Center for Family Engagement.
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Judy. I am thrilled to be here. So happy Friday, everyone. We're glad to see so many familiar names in the space. So, as the director of the Statewide Family Engagement Center, we have the opportunity to partner with our state department on many activities around the state, but we're thrilled to have the opportunity to bring this to you this morning. As you see on the slide, that we have been focusing on ensuring that all of our districts around our state are aware, one, of the Statewide Family Engagement Center, but in addition to that, to understand that we have a definition and what we mean by partnering with families. I'm not going to read it for you. You'll see it on the slide, but we're not doing this work alone. We have partners from around the country as well. So we work very closely with Dr. Joyce Epstein with the National Network of Partnership Schools, CERC in-state, the State Education Resource Center, who's partnering with us today. Of course, Dr. Judy Carson with the State Department of Ed and Connecticut Parent Advocacy Center. One of the ways that we're able to support our states throughout the state of Connecticut is through our regional partners. We have 6 regional partners that we could not do this work without them. We're currently working with over 24 districts, partnering with several schools. And I think what I'm most proud of is the advisory council that we have working with families, and 51% of the membership are parents from around our state. Next slide, please. I love this slide because it gives our districts the opportunity to see the reach that we have around our state. So we're both in rural, we're in larger communities, we're in smaller communities. I did see our former director in our audience, so I wanted to give a shout out to Betsy Laborious. We have been doing this work within the state for a very long time, and we've had the opportunity to have this particular grant since 2018. And so we just want to say hi to Betsy. Thank you. So now I'm going to toss it to our conversation catalyst for this morning.
Thank you, Veronica, and thank you, Judy, for the wonderful introduction. Welcome everyone who has taken the time out to join us today. We really appreciate it. My name's Lisa Otero, and as Judy mentioned, I'm the program director at the Center for Relational Learning. And so we're just going to spend our time this morning looking at and investigating what would it look like if you put relationships first in everything that you do. And so we're just going to introduce the center's approach that's been developed over the 50 odd plus years of work that George has done, and in coordination with Anne and all of our other partners, because this is an iterative process. And so things are always dynamic and changing and growing, which we really find an adventure. But what we'd like to start off with first is something that we always highlight, which is in the relationships first approach, you have to activate well-being first and foremost. That's our first operating principle. And so we always begin and use a lens of how can we activate everyone's well-being, because we believe well-being is a state and not an outcome. And so we have to practice this because it changes from moment to moment. You don't arrive at well-being, you practice always returning to it. And so we always want to know that, how are we answering the question? How are we being together right now in this room, even if it's a virtual space? So just real quickly in the chat, if you wouldn't mind, this is just the beginning of this activating well-being process. We have 8 album covers here with song titles. And if in you can just pick one that really kind of feels like how you've arrived in this space together this morning. So if you take a minute and look those over and pick one, and if you have another moment is maybe just a quick explanation of why you picked that album. Put that in the chat. Put it in the chat. So hopefully we found something that fits for you. And if not, you can select your own song because it's about how you're showing up as well. So thank you for participating and writing on writing in the chat.
I see some
Oh,
fans, Seahawks fans, showing up here.
that's right. So what we're going to do next is kind of continue on this theme of activating well-being. And so I'm going to turn it over next to my father, George, who founded the center, and he's going to move on to what we like to call How Many of You activity.
Lovely, lovely to be here. Lovely feeling. Betsy, where are you? I mean, geez, I am so happy because I'm here.
Wish I could hear this.
And here, but I'm here because of Betsy. Wow, what an opportunity to just feel that connection, because that's what we're looking at in the relationship first approach. We don't do just what you might call starters, get people warmed up to do other work. Connecting with each other is the work. And one of our favorite approaches is how many of you. And it works a lot easier when we all be in the same room and raise our hands to each other. Some of you remember we may have done that 2 weeks ago at a statewide conference. But we have a little poll because we have Nicole on the team helping us, so we can take a poll. So I guess the poll's on there, isn't it?
Yep.
I see it.
There are 3 questions. Just look at them. I think there are 3 or 4 questions. Simply go to them if you see it on the poll and fill them out, and then we'll play with them a little bit here in terms of how many of you and what that might mean, and use these opportunities to connect to each other, to find out where we're affiliated. Because the number one principle we operate in is relationships are about affiliating with people. And that means building a connection, a conversation, a relationship. Oh, look, gee, we're already getting a few left-handed. On left-handedness, this is a pretty good percentage. I see we have almost 100. Usually there's 3% of a population at any one time that will be left-handed. Interesting fact, maybe. And left-handed is not genetic. In other words, you don't have a gene for left-handedness. And if we were all together, we could raise our left hand. If you're feeling the need, just raise your left hand there or wave to somebody if you like. And right-handed, much more popular and lovely. We've got a few people who are ambidextrous. I'm only that on the golf course. Baseball, but maybe that means you can stir up pancakes either way and still be on the phone. So for left-handedness, just to think about, the research is very clear since it's not genetic. They've measured left-handed people, and they actually test on IQ tests as being just a tad more intelligent than the right-handers. I know that's getting some frowns in the audience already. But left-handers, I'm one of them, so I have affiliation with you left-handers. If we were having lunch together, we should sit together and keep building our relationship. But for you right-handers, to get a little balance, you'll like knowing that right-handers live a couple years longer than left-handed people. So all this information you knew you came for this morning, as we kind of identify a little bit of who are we, which is then the main theme of our approach. It's not what you do and what you say, those are important, but what's important relationally is who you are in any moment, and connecting to others in terms of who they are. It just feels good. We were doing that the half hour before. The second one on favorite color, everyone's had enough time for that? And what have we got? Look at the range on colors. We picked what are in surveys. Judy Carson and I worked on this numerous times, and she provided one survey that showed what colors came up more often. And we'd get them all if we had you again together. So you see what we've got. Blue and green are quite strong, usually purple. Then that second tier, boy, you're fitting the patterns here, this group. Red, orange, and my favorite color, which is yellow. And as Judy and us mentioned at it, if we were physically together, besides giving a shout out, there would be prizes for those of you who have the same colors I do. And that doesn't mean anything except you have the same color as I do, and you ought to get a piece of candy if it's allowed. I'd love to hear more, but you can kind of see you're probably feeling in your own thinking, and you would be talking. Maybe some of you are sitting with other people, but all of this, how many of you are the way we begin to connect to each other and to feel mind, body, and spirit who we are at this moment in time, as we did with Lisa's activity. Oh, and one of my favorites, your birth order, very common. Oldest children quite have a reputation for going into education. I don't know. I know I'm the oldest child, and I just feel the need to boss people over. No. That's not quite the thing. Going into education, middle children. Interesting data on that. 19 out of 25%. Youngest child, 31%. And all of the above, the only children. When we run our workshops, there's always a lunch table just so the only children can get together and talk to each other. That's a bit of a joke. I hope you're taking all of these comments that way. But the research is very nice about only children. Research shows that only children develop resilience much more strongly often than the other three, and often do quite well in school. That's interesting that they would build that resilience. There's some love hearts going up and all the rest. So then I don't know your birth order, and I think those were the three key ones we had. What we want to point out as we get started is a relational approach is a feeling approach. A relational approach is a verb, as Lisa says and may emphasize here. It's not a thing. So the how many of you is just a way we invite each other, and we'll go over that in a few more minutes as the characteristics of a relationship first approach. It has some ways of being and doing that you can understand and can practice, which we're going to be happy in this 2 hours to have you see how others, our good friends from Florida, even have practiced that. And many of you heard how you live that out when you heard about the family learning walks. It's really the most powerful way to create a partnership. To activate is the word we use, to activate the partnership with families. We're naturally in a partnership with families. How do we activate that and keep
I
it?
was at work. I could put the earphones on.
Thanks, George, for sharing all of that. And I'm curious as you state that, and that we're all here trying to improve the lives of our children, families, and communities so that everyone is thriving and feels nourished. And so, Anne, I was curious, as you're one of our presenters today, in all of your years of research and work with schools and districts and organizations, what are you currently finding is the biggest challenge today facing family and community engagement? I'm curious if you would share that with us.
Well, Lisa, as you probably know, I've been tracking the research since 1981. I was a child prodigy. Either that or I'm really old. And it's the same thing that has come out year after year, study after study, that the most important thing we need to cultivate is relational trust. Now, people ask me, well, what other kind of trust is there than relational trust? And I don't know. I think all trust is rooted in healthy, appreciative, collaborative, safe relationships. And so that's what the research is showing, that when we connect with each other and in a relational way, it makes a huge difference. My most recent review of the research is Everyone Wins. That's the book title, book cover. And you can judge this book by that cover, by the way. Kids do better in school. Teachers become more effective. They have higher morale. It strengthens our families to be welcomed and included and embraced. And our communities become more vibrant when we have schools that really put relationships first. Everyone wins. So two big themes come out of this. The first, of course, and foremost and foundational, is developing trust. And this session is going to be all about the how we do that. And the second theme is link what we do with each other back to what children are learning and doing in class, their social and emotional development. How are our kids doing and what are they learning? When you have the trust, then the linking to learning just becomes much more natural and effortless. And these two things are what gets results for student outcomes and the quality of our schools. It's all about trust. Because without trust, nothing else works. And how do we do it? We talk to each other. We listen. We share our knowledge and insight. We commit to our children's success and working together to make that happen. And we plan and work it out so that we keep at it. And this is what we need to be thinking about and what is the subject of what we're doing today. Traditional practices have their value, but they are not designed to develop close relationships. And that's where we come in as a redesign change agent team here. So I've been steeping myself in this research all these years. And sometime in the last century, I met George at a retreat that the Mott Foundation put together for community education leaders. And George was the marvelous facilitator that they hired to corral a whole bunch of rambunctious, ill-behaved community education leaders into a purposeful retreat. And he was marvelous. And I remember thinking at the time, I would really like to be able to work with this person. And a while later, I saw that there was a webinar that was featuring George, so I hopped on. And the subject of it was putting relationships first. And for me, that just put it all together. Boom, 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 boom. We need to be doing this. We need to be doing that. What do we do first? How do we do it? Boom. We put the relationships first. And so George and I have been working together since then, and it's been a great pleasure.
Yeah, it's been an ongoing pleasure. And it's been what we started last century, didn't we?
Yep.
It's always good to know about the longevity and the sense of our story, because I wouldn't be, and all of you in the room wouldn't be who you are today without the people you relate to, grow up to, the members of your family, the things that have happened to you. And that's why in a relationship first approach, our story is our guide. And that's where the equity comes into. Everyone's story is a power story. But we currently live in a society that wants to emphasize some stories over others. And of course, as educators, we are all committed to seeing each story as increasing all of our learning and growth. And every young person who comes into our schools or our neighborhoods is a full-fledged human story, be uncovering in every part. So it's not just in the sense of putting the relationship first. Is actually is I want to just take a couple minutes to do, and then we're going to just do the practices, hear how people are applying it. You heard it from Julie last time. All we want to do in a relationship first approach is activate putting the relationship first. This is not an intense training. It's just a reorientation and claiming what we know we really have always wanted to do, which is let the relationship guide our learning and not the transactions we're part of. So let's look at a couple of these principles. We've tried to summarize them because we would love to have you all come to New Mexico. That's where we spend 3 days, and we really dig into and appreciate all of these principles. We live them out together, but you'll hear that application from a couple people who will be sharing today, but mostly Kylie and her team. And so, relationship first approach for all of you might be looking for notes and a quick indication to follow up is always invitational. It can't be relational if it isn't invitational. It can't be just good for you. A relationship first approach is always voluntary in the sense that you have to be choosing it, and you choose it whether it's feeling good or bad. You have to choose to live in a relationship. And that's key. One thing we could take more time on, we do in it when we go in depth, is that helps us understand that relationships are about choice, not about control. We live in a society that thinks we can have control over things, but if it's voluntary, it's a choice. And learning how to choose, basically, you can take this back. If you're working with a parent or a student, if they've got 3 options, they have a choice. But if they can only state the one you told them they needed to think about, that's control. You see, this is very practical approach, and I'm just pointing a couple of those out. The third principle is it's activating. A relationship first approach is all about living in the relationship, not talking about it, not conceptualizing about what ought to happen. It's actually getting into the mess of it. And that means we need another way of being together. And that's what we train ourselves and help ourselves remember in our approach. How do I live and activate the relationship? And we'll be seeing how people have done it in their schools, but it's an ongoing activity when it's relational. And then it's appreciative. I was thinking of it this morning. I just love doing this, by the way. I was up another hour and a half. You know how you are when you're going to present. You're going through your notes, adding more topics than you can possibly cover. And what hit me, and I've done this for 50 years, is it's really not about gratitude. In a funny kind of way, if we had further discussions, gratitude keeps everything in your control. But appreciative is always relational. And are you noticing who's appreciative of what? And are we appreciative of, excuse me, got excited there, our life and experience? Then it's playful and co-created. So a relationship first approach has these clear 6 characteristics. And playful means it's lively. It's not predetermined. It's not a script. It's not a plan. It's not a recipe. And co-created means, which we'll show in a minute, is we're doing it together. We need each other for it to happen. I love collaboration, but a relationship first approach says the partnership with parents has to be co-created. And most of you know that. The question is how. So that was the longest on the one slide, but here's just a couple reminders because we're just highlighting the power of this approach and how useful people have found it. And frankly, wanting to invite any and all of you to keep learning and being relational with us. Putting the relationship first is a practice, not a strategy. Relationships are not strategies, they're a way of being. So, what we know is, and I'll just go to the second one just for time. I'm just throwing things out. Hopefully, they're connecting. We can follow them up. You may note them. That we want to move in a mindset. A relationship first approach is a change in mindset. It means it's not what I'm doing or what the outcome is, it's who am I in the relationship. And that has big implications for education because we've lived for years in education with a find and fix mentality. Let's find out what kids need or even want, and then let's fix it if it's broken and pretend we were in charge of if it wasn't, since it's probably natural to many of them. We've moved the last number of years to predict and prevent. Now, as educators, we thought in our relationship, we want to predict with ACEs and other areas what's going on and then prevent that, or in a sense, try to heal that. A relationship first approach is a mindset that is full of let's discover together and then respond relationally. And that always has a different story, unique outcome, and can't be predicted. I hope you're as excited as I am about an approach where you're always in discovery. And then the third of the mindset change is Ubuntu. Ubuntu is a South African term that just states what if we knew that none of us individually, it's the old one you've heard of no person is an island. Ubuntu just says, I am because of who we are together. That's why I love being with you all, even online. Much prefer face to face, but it's good to have the option to feel connection and to work together as these Friday cafes have done, because we are who we are together and who's in the room and what we bring. Anticipation, respect for Bad Bunny, somebody mentioned earlier. So this is a worldview, a relational worldview means a big change. Now we go more into that because we are in the middle of a revolution in education, and it's not just a change of focus, it's a complete change in how we see our work and lives. Let's see another one, Lisa, real quickly. Just again, a bit of a summary. If you're thinking about adopting a relationship first approach, these might be just 4 clues to think about. And we want to offer to keep doing that together. All of us who work together, and you'll see that in the presentations you've heard last 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and from Kylea, it's a way of being and doing together. You really can't pick out the doing from the being. And we like to bifurcate things. We like either ors. We like to say, I'm being something and now I'm doing something. No, a relationship first approach is a way of being and doing together. It's a way of moving from a linear worldview, the individualistic world we live in, to a relational worldview and to a relational way of being together. It's shifting from a transactional to a relational approach. That's the big shift. And it can be done. It's a conscious move. And then it focuses on 4 operating principles. So let me finish that part of that shifting from transactional to relational and then highlighting it. We've got about 4 more minutes on this part. This diagram seems to tell the story. Stay with me out there if you're there. I would be looking to get feedback from you. Some of you might now be frowning. I'd still probably go on, but I'd try to find out what the frown meant for you and see if we could get together in the conversation, because a relational approach is always, you can't know where you're at in your relationship till you're interacting with the people who are in the relationship. What we have right now is a transactional approach, frankly, even to family school engagement. Now, that's not bad, it's just not good enough. In a transactional approach, we all have the task connecting families to their kids' achievement, making them feel comfortable and welcome in the school. These are all, if you filled them on those 5 task marks, those are all tasks. They're great tasks. Getting up in the morning, setting your alarm clock, making sure the kids get to school, involving parents, all of those tasks, they're all in one sense equal. We may have more focus. And we've been believing that relationships help us accomplish the task. That's okay, sure. But that in a sense becomes very instrumental. That becomes very performative. What we're suggesting is, if we take a relational approach, it's people driven. It's driven by who we are together, and in the relationship, when we're relating, the task can get done, take new form, have a different significance. And that's where you find the big change in the approach we're suggesting. And learning to use a relation first approach, living in the relationship, is key. We have spent years now, as Lisa mentioned earlier, trying to understand, so we don't just say a buzzword, relationships matter. We've been trying to help ourselves discover, how do they matter? And we have come up with, in a sense, a understanding more of how a relational living in the relationship emerges and how it happens. Because we believe in this approach, it's a way to create how you relate. So if we're conscious of it and understand the process, everybody wins. Back to Ann's. And if everybody doesn't win, it's not relational. So emerging connections. And we move from recognizing, then we understand each other. Recognizing is like you go on the first date. Understood is there won't be another date, and you send a text, I hear with some generations. But maybe it's understood. Kids recognize early education, early childhood. They recognize, hey, this could be about me. And then they reach grade 5 and understand that, hey, this is not about me. And then we have the lower enrollment and kids don't attend. But then what happens is, when you relate with people, you begin to value each other and your interaction and who you are and that story. Like, I value Anne and Lisa and all of you and Betsy quite a bit more. You're not just people who I've interacted with. And once you value what you can be learning together and being in relationship, then you can co-create. We often move to collaboration before we really move through, so that it's really co-created and not just collaboration. You do this, I do that, we cooperate. So that will increase well-being, and that increases impact. And so the key part, which show the next slide, and I'll do the one little part, Lisa, and then give it over to you, Anne. We think that a relational approach is informed by natural ways of learning. We feel we've gotten too stodgy and strategic and have too much jargon when we want to play with kids and families. And learning is really dominated by natural ways of learning that parents bring with them, with their own cultural stories. Every culture, every person, every community has ways they play, they have games, they have stories, they can do dialogue, they have art, and they have ceremony. And so we are emphasizing that we need to bring back is a relational approach. We need more of these natural ways of learning to be our modem, a modem of interacting with parents, especially because they know this as well as we do. Play is a young 6-year-old, my favorite quote. So we can do this whole lesson right now. We don't need the 87-page book from the Harvard play. It's good for background. Play, he said, is play is what I do when all of you stop telling me what to do. And now there's key research all over the world about that, and it works. Games are structured play. And when you play games, our friends in Australia just played a game of one game a week, one night for a full week, and they had all of the learning objectives improved, including parent patience. Now add that to your list. I mean, this is so engaging and so effective. And all they did is play a board game. They asked 100 families to play a board game. So then you go to stories and dialogue and the ongoing discovery, and you find we have made learning together harder than it needs to be. And it's time to reclaim an approach that always works because it's natural to us. I'm starting to ramble now because I'm getting too excited, but I'm going to move because all of this, as we've been mentioning, leads to operating principles. And I'm going to highlight the first, and Anne's going to show how we working together began to see, well, we need some way. This is so powerful. How do we get a handle on how we could operate with a relationship first approach? And that first one we've been mentioning is always activating well-being. Appreciative at the beginning, appreciative in the middle, appreciative at the end. It doesn't mean it always feels good, but it does mean you're focused more on being real than being right, because that's about control and not about love, engagement, and learning. And so activating well-being is our first principle, and we're going to focus on that now in some small groups. But the other three principles are just as powerful. And talk about what we've learned together here.
Well, George, one thing we've learned is that when you do a well-being welcome, you're on your way to being a relational leader.
That's right. That's absolutely.
And you get that reactions from people that they love seeing points of connection with one another, sharing little stories about themselves, talking about the difference between being the oldest or the youngest or the middle kid. People are always looking for ways to connect in ways that feel safe. And that is what we need to be doing all the time, every day, not just at the beginning of the day, but just throughout. We can put out the welcome mat and be friendly and, all of that sort of thing. But if it doesn't lead to a deeper connection and understanding, it's not activating well-being. It's just calming people down.
Yeah.
And then the next operating principle, so this is really getting into the how, is making sure everyone, students, staff, families, the custodians, everyone feels seen, heard, understood, and valued, and then affirmed. So we can bring people together and talk, and they can give us all kinds of ideas. But then if we don't do anything with what we learn, people don't feel affirmed. They feel like they said, we heard you. Thank you for coming. And then on the shelf the suggestions go.
Yeah.
And the next operating principle is you can't do this just once at the beginning of the year where you bring people together and do some kumbaya and so on. You have to practice ongoing discovery. And this is what's fun, having continuous conversation. Have your staff meetings in a circle rather than lined up in rows. Book a lunch or a coffee or a after school drink with your colleagues and get to know them. Be out in front of the school in the beginning of the day and welcome the families and the kids by their names and have that little chit chat that just keeps on going. And then the last one looks at it from a totally different angle, because the most important relationship we have is our relationship with ourself. And we need to be sure that we are present for the other people in our life. If we're having a meeting, close your computer screen and focus completely. That's the most precious gift you can give to someone else. So bringing ourselves into how am I going to be in this place today? How am I going to activate well-being and keep going with these wonderful relationships that I'm developing and make sure that I'm connecting fully with everyone around me? That is cultivating your leadership presence.
Mm.
Thank you. This is so much fun.
I'm going to, yes, these are some of the ways that we can do this. And this is what you'll learn more about if you can join us in Santa Fe, or if you want to join us in some other way that we can offer about learning walks, community conversations, using natural ways of learning and fun, easy games, having listening circles where we're really hearing each other, and of course, doing our well-being welcomes.
Mm.
So Lisa, I'm going to toss it to you.
Well, thank you. I think what we'd like for you all to do is we're going to put you into some breakout rooms so that you can discuss with one another and share and start discovering what. And we'd like you to focus on these two questions, and then we'll bring you back in about 10 minutes and have you put some of the highlights in the chat, because then we get to hear from Kylia and how they were working and learning about the approach and what her story has been in Polk County. So, what activates your well-being? And what do you already do to activate the well-being of the families you work with? When connecting and sharing these will just help advance the work we're doing in placing connection and belonging first. And again, following our first operating principle. So I think now I'll stop sharing and we'll put everyone in breakout rooms for about 10 minutes.
There's a Padlet, right, Lisa, where people can fill out things.
Yes, and then there'll be a Padlet where we'll keep track of this and people can have access to everyone's answer. That is correct.
Okay, so I'm gonna should think of what they want to put on the Padlet, right?
Yeah. Right now, those two questions are on the Padlet so we can get everybody's ideas.
Yep.
Yes, so I'm going to put the
Nicole.
Padlet. Yes, hi. I'm going to put the Padlet link in the
Right.
chat right now, and I'll also broadcast it to the breakout groups. So
Great.
there will be 10 minutes, and everybody's going to be automatically sent to the groups.
Great.
And we're going to now hear from Anne and more specifically from Kylia and from Polk County. And here is a nice image, and hopefully at some point we'll stop sharing unless I have one other slide to show that I put in there, Kylia, for you and Anne to talk about. But it's mostly a conversation about your story and how you came to learn about the relationships first approach and relational leadership. And there's a picture of you and your team there when you came to Santa Fe. And then what we have here is this is available for you as well. But Anne and Kylie, I'm going to turn it over to you guys.
So Kylia, we met almost a year ago in March in Santa Fe at the Relational Leadership Intensive. And as I recall, you come from a really big school district. You brought a whole team with you. How big is your school district?
Our district is huge. We're literally geographically the size of Rhode Island. We're the
Oh,
size of Rhode Island.
This Rhode Island. So I think I heard that 4 Rhode Islands would fit into Connecticut.
And
All
our
of Connecticut
county is
with
a
its
district the
150
size of Rhode Island. So yes, we're huge.
And who came with you?
So when we were there, if you want to go back to the last picture, and it's funny, I have on the exact same sweater because it's cold here, just like it was cold there. The picture of all of us, but it's the same sweater.
No,
There
There
we
it
are.
is.
yeah.
So on that picture, we brought with us 5 principals, 5 of our principals, and then 3 district staff, including myself, a regional director, and a representative from our Title I Federal Programs Office.
Yeah,
So we
you
had
were
8
a
people.
powerful team. And what was the sort of problem of practice that you had in mind when you came? What was on your minds that you thought this would help you with?
Oh, well, before I go to there, I want to mention that one of the principals is actually on this call this morning. Miss Maria Q is what I call her. She's a principal of Palmetto Elementary.
Hey, Maria.
She's here with us on the call this morning. She's
Morning.
somewhere in the line of all these people. It's amazing to see all these people. But for us, the problem of practice really was we have family engagement is one of our strategic goal plans or goals. Actually, it's goal 3 for us. And we have it there, but what are we really doing around it? What are we doing to accomplish that goal? And yes, we know it should not be a goal. It really should be a strategy, but at least we have it. We have it as a goal and we're working on it. But what were we doing? And we didn't have my position. My position was newly created actually just over a year ago. So you have this plan, you have these things, but what are you doing to accomplish them? And that was our problem of practice. We were doing things that were more compliance based because of our Title I requirements.
So they were transactional.
Definitely.
As I recall, some of the people who came with you at the beginning of the session were sort of sitting there with their arms crossed across their chest and kind of sitting back. But how did they react over time?
So those people, the principals were voluntold. They weren't necessarily asked to come. They were kind of voluntold because we were looking at what we call feeder pattern areas. And so we picked schools that were closely linked to one another and picked those 5 principals. And yeah, they didn't really have a whole lot of a choice in deciding whether they were going to attend. And so some came with a little bit of a closed-minded approach or attitude in the sense that, okay, what is this? I don't do touchy-feely, and, I don't want to be in my emotions and talk about feelings and all the things. So they were a little hesitant. They were kind of closed off about things. But as they were listening to the presentations, as they were listening to George and Lisa and Ann, and all the presentations that were happening, you could see, okay, this is not what I thought. And I'm actually into this. And the arms were uncrossed and they were actually engaged in all the things. I joked with Miss Ann, we even got in trouble for talking too much, but we were talking about the things and how can we do these things back in Florida, because we had a whole table of just Florida people, and we were really into it. So it was really nice to see the shift go from, why am I here? What are we about to do? I don't want to do touchy-feely. Don't touch me. Don't talk to me about my emotions and what I'm thinking and feeling, to, okay, how do we make this happen? And I like this activity. And what can we do? How can we bring this back to our area?
Right. So I remember running into you all at the airport on our way back, and they were like all in the, having lunch or, refreshments together, and they were just buzzing with what they were going to be doing. And I certainly feel like you guys hit the ground running when you got back. So what did you do?
So
And
they know that
your role as the district leader for family engagement, what was your role?
So they know that Kylie is going to call a meeting, and I was calling meetings before we left, when we picked the team, and then again before we left to make sure that they understood the expectation. And then as soon as we got back, we already had a meeting scheduled. So we met repeatedly just to talk about, what does this look like? What did you take away from this experience? But what can we in Polk implement? What would work for us? what key strategies did everyone hone in on? What do those activities look like? And for the principals, what are you going to go back and do? What will you do at your school? And if you're okay, I would love to have Maria share with you the first thing that she decided she wanted to do.
Maria, unmute yourself.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, as Kalia said, we came and we were excited to start some stuff, and because we wanted to follow the momentum, and so we met and we're like, okay, what are some of the things that we're gonna do? And so when we came back, some of the things as a Title I school we already do is have roundup for kindergartners. So we did a community conversation when they came in, and we, talk about like always start with the well-being, but get the circles and do the community conversation and get to know the family, share some of the things that we're doing here at the school. And once we did that, the parents seem excited, but I didn't want to leave it just there. We also, when I had the community conversation, I had a question of who was interested in doing a learning walk, especially for those parents whose babies are gonna come into kindergarten and they don't want to cut the umbilical cord. They're like, oh, my baby, so they're kind of hesitant at what it looks like. So I had some parents who signed up. I set up a time during the day, and we had a pre like a little meeting again to go to activate the well-being and the expectations, and I had 3 questions for them as we went into the classroom. One of the things that I wanted to see is here in Polk County, all the students have an iPad, like a technology piece, an iPad. In middle school, they have computers, but in elementary, they have an iPad. So I wanted the parents to see how the technology is being used in the classroom. It's not just like, oh my goodness, they're all day on the iPad. No, it's a healthy balance. But also the expectations, because kindergarten is not what it was, back in the day when we were growing up. So it's a lot of different expectations for our babies. And so I wanted them to see all the things that we were doing. And we visited a few classrooms just so they can get a sense of what it looks like and what we do here. And then we had a meeting, and the parents, all of them were very kind of at ease and okay with what they saw. We started building those connections. And now when we have those family nights, I've done a community conversations with them again. And this time a little bit different. I've done it like in different stations where they come in and they do they have different stations of all the things that we do here at school. And one of the stations was me with the community conversations, just because it was a lot and a different approach with the community conversation. But I was there, and all of them had really good feedback, and that connection, that interaction that I had with the parents as well was different than I think that if they've never seen me, or if I didn't have those one-on-one conversations with them when they came for those learning walks and the community conversations when they're first gonna come to the school.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Maria. That's so helpful. Kylia, shifting back to you,
Mm-hmm.
how did you support some of the other principals? I know 2 principals had to got assigned to totally different schools, and they used some of these techniques to really learn about and figure out how to connect into and build trust in their new schools. So what happened there?
Yeah, so of the 5, 2 were moved shortly after we returned to different schools, which we looked at that from a positive, and we looked at the pros and cons of that situation, because that means the work that was done at the former school could continue if they built it the right way with the staff that's there. But then they also now are reaching another set of school staff, students, and families and community. So they both of those principals really wanted to do listening circles in the beginning, just to hear the opportunities and hear what was going on with the school so that they can show that they're interested. They show that they care. They show that they want to learn the things. So we hosted listening circles with their staff. We've also hosted listening circles with students, and they've done community conversations. Just like Maria mentioned, one of the principals did a community conversation as a station during their open house, just so that they can hear from their families and the students as well. So just trying to support them in their new surroundings as they're building those relationships with the staff and trying to figure out where things were before they were assigned to that school and how they would like to see things move forward for their school since they're a school community.
Now, you did the listening circles with the staff, right, rather than the principals doing them?
Yes, the principals are not allowed to be in the room at all. We kick them out. The best they can do is introduce me, and then we make them leave the room.
And what were the things that came up when you talked to staff?
So interestingly, when I've done these listening circles with staff, and I've done these at multiple schools, it's really like a sigh of relief, like, wow, someone's asking me questions about how I feel about the things at my school. You know, what I like about my school. Do I feel supported in my school? Do I feel like I get the professional development opportunities that I need at my school? Things like that. So really, it's surprising to them. You can see it when they come into the room. They're like, what are we doing? Why is she here? Even if the principal sent them something saying it's going to be a listening circle, they still walk in with hesitation. But then once, the principal does the introduction and we kick them out and we create that safe space for them, you can
And you had a
see,
note
okay,
taker, right?
yes, we keep a note taker with us, and that's also a person who's not a member of the school. So myself and the person do not work at the school specifically. So we are coming in as quote unquote outsiders to facilitate this, to help them again feel more comfortable and feel safe in the conversations. And then we do that activating well-being activity, and you could see the relief, like, okay, and now they're smiling and they're laughing. And then we jump into the questions. The questions actually are created by the principal based on what it is they're trying to garner from that group of people and participants. So I then go in with the questions and they start giving their feedback. And I've had people say, oh, I don't want to participate, I just want to watch, I just want to be here. And then as soon as we start with the questions, they're jumping in, they're raising their hand, they have comments and they have responses. So the people that when we've done this, they really feel okay. So they sent you to be here. They asked you to do this for us. And I've had actually at Maria School, there were staff that were like, no one's ever asked us what we think. No one's ever asked us what we feel. No one's ever took the time to hear what we wanted. So they felt valued. They felt heard. And so it's really eye-opening to see the relief on their face and the aha moment for them, like, wow, these are the questions the administrator of my school sent you to ask us, and now you're going to do what with this? And I explained to them that afterwards, I'm going to meet with your principal and share these responses. They won't identify you as far as who said what, but here's the information that we've gained from the questions that were asked. And so, and I encourage, hey, follow back up with your principal if you want to know more, but I encourage your principal to follow up with you all to show I received the responses. I understand what you're saying, and here's what I plan to do based on what you've given or what you provided as your feedback.
And I recall one of the things you heard was that the parking lot hadn't been paved or painted and nobody knew where to park. And, so some pet peeves came up, right?
Yes, that was one of the principals that was moved, and he was trying to just learn the lay of the land. And when I did the listening circle, that was one of the things that came up was paint the parking lot. Like, just help us out and paint the parking lot to start off. And that was an easy task. He jumped right on that and got the parking lot painted. And it was something simple, but it showed them that he listened, that he heard them.
And affirmed.
Yes.
So not only were they seen, heard, understood, and valued, but they were affirmed.
Absolutely.
And then there were other things that were a little more substantive, right? Like professional development.
Yes. Yes. Professional development, understanding budgets, because there's a lot of times that things come up and teachers and staff want these things and they think there's budget dollars available, and they don't understand how budgets work, because there may be dollars available, but they're allocated for a specific pot and they can't just be moved to another pot. So helping the principals understand, you need to have these conversations with your staff to help them understand why you can't just go hire a new science coach or why you can't just go add this program because of the way your budget sits. So it's for them, it's like, oh, I didn't realize that they didn't get it. They sit in principal meetings and hear the things, but the teachers and their staff are not in those meetings.
We also provided professional development over last summer to administrators.
Good. And I'll get to that in a minute. And what did you learn from talking with families, doing listening circles with families?
Families, again, just like the staff, are just shocked, like somebody's listening. I'm being heard. Someone's asking me questions. And it's also interesting with the families because I go in carefully because I know, if there's something, some sort of dissension already happening, this could be the forum for them to feel like, hey, let's get all this out in the air. And to a degree, I do allow them to vent some of the things out because they just need to get it out. They need to be heard. They want to tell you the story of their specific situation. And then we wrap it back up and we summarize it back like, okay, so what you're saying is, and what I'm hearing you say is the time frame for grade changes isn't conducive for your child's GPA who's trying to apply for college. We got that. The note taker took note of that, and we'll make sure that we share that as a response with the administrator. But sometimes the parents just need to get it out. They need to get that off their chest. Their frustration is real. It's valid. It's all the things. And so hearing from parents and then hearing other parents either co-sign or even maybe if they disagree, but disagree respectfully, because we make sure that everyone understands that whether you agree or don't agree with whatever's being said, we will respect everyone in the room. Everyone's voices deserve to be heard. And then sometimes the parents offer feedback and they offer suggestions to one another. So it's really neat watching the parents. And I did one recently, just a few weeks ago, with a group of parents, and they were surprised to know that their administrators were the ones that asked me to come. They thought this was something that was mandated or required across the district because this is new to them. And when I told them, no, your principal reached out after a principal presentation and said, hey, sign my school if I want to do this, that made them take a step back like, wow, I have a different perspective of my principal now because they brought you here to do this. And another person was like, we need to do this at all the schools. We need all the schools to have these types of sessions with parents and students and whatnot. So I'll go back in a couple of weeks to do students at that very same school.
Oh, that'll be interesting.
Yes.
And, for the principals, when you're giving them this feedback, you have to coach them a little bit to just be vulnerable, right? And just accept, because what they are hearing might not be something they want to hear, but it is something they need to know, right?
Yes. We definitely preface this. You need to be in a vulnerable space in the sense that you don't know what will be said and you can't take offense to every little thing because in your mind, you may feel like you run a tight ship and all these things are in place, but you're asking them for their perspective. You're asking them for their feedback. So be okay receiving it and understand that this is what you asked them to give you. So they're going to give it to you the way that they need to convey it. So we do. I impress upon them, be okay being vulnerable, but just take it in stride and hear them, hear what they're trying to say to you through their responses. And then how can you go back and say, I heard you, and here's what I want to do based on what you have given, from the questions that were asked. So yes, and I see someone says it takes courage. Yes, it does. They have to be willing to be vulnerable. And the first time we did this with one of those 5 principals that attended, you could tell it caught him by surprise because he internalized it and got a little emotional about it. But then we just talked him through like, no, like, let's look at the bigger picture. Here's what they're saying. And it's not a knock necessarily against you. This is just you ask these questions and these are the ways that they are responding based on how they feel. So what can you do to address or to acknowledge what they're saying and help make your relationships better with the staff?
And doing this has a lot of ripple effects because after those parents are in a listening circle and get to vent and give their ideas, and then they start to see some results from what they asked for, that changes the conversation over the back fence in the whole community, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. People become more engaged and think, okay, let me trust this administrator a little more. Let me work with the school a little better because they're trying, they're putting forth the effort.
Right. And I know you decided after hearing, gee, we ought to be doing this in all the schools, to do a whole presentation about what you learned at the intensive to all of your colleagues and in Polk County, right?
Yeah, so after we returned, part of those meetings that we were having as a team, we were presented with the opportunity to be presenters at our Summer Leadership Academy. Our Summer Leadership Academy is where all of our school administrators come together. And you're talking over 120, 150 schools, but all their principals and assistant principals come to basically like a mini conference. And so it's 2 days and they go to sessions. And so we were offered the opportunity to be a session that they could attend, and we were able to do our session 4 times, and every time it was completely full with people bringing in chairs to come sit in on our session. The great thing about it, though, is that I allowed these principals, I wanted these principals that were in attendance and who have been implementing at their schools to lead the session. So the administrators that were in the room were able to hear from the principals and what they've implemented and how they've implemented and how they've overcome barriers, and what some of the reactions were. And so it was really great being able to have that opportunity to present. But then after we presented, we gave a QR code and asked them to, one, give us a survey, do a survey for us. But then also, if you want more information, because we can only give you so much in this 45-minute window, if you want more information, fill out the information and we'll talk with you. And so we set up principal chats for anyone who was interested, and these very same principals who presented joined in on those principal chats to talk to people who wanted more information and who had questions. And from there, we were able to set up opportunities to maybe come out and do a listening circle at their school, or talk to them about learning walks or community conversations and so on and so forth. So it's been really beneficial. We did that last summer. And then this past December, we did another principal presentation at a principals meeting where we bring all the principals together. They gave us time to present, because we built a parent and family engagement steering committee of principals. We have 10 principals on that steering committee. And that was a group that we took out to NAFSCI back in October. So then we came back with that information. And in December, we presented. Again, the principals led it. I was just there with the clicker, watching the principals and supporting them lead the presentation. And again, we offered the opportunity, if they wanted more, they could sign up. And so we had principal chats even after that, and getting people more engaged and informed on these practices that we brought back from you guys. So we're super excited for the opportunity we had and can't wait for this to spread to even more people. And I see the pictures you have up here. This is part of learning walks and community conversations and a listening circle, actually.
So you can see that what it looks like, and always sitting in a circle. And do you think that this is changing your school's cultures now to become less transactional and more relational?
I think bit by bit, it's not happening overnight for us, of course, because we haven't gotten everyone on board with all the things. But as we continue to grow, and as we're doing now that we have this parent and family engagement steering committee with more principals who haven't necessarily been infused in the work, we're now working with them to help them understand it. And we're going to go out to their schools and provide some of these same strategies. And then I know we've had some conversations where we would love to bring the Relational Leadership Institute or the Relational Learning Institute to Florida, so that we can get even more people trained. So we are excited about the prospect of where this is going to go for us. But we realize that it does take time, because it's a mindset shift for people. We talk data, academics, but they forget that the relational piece will positively impact the data, will positively impact the academics and student outcomes. So it's slowly just shifting the mindset. The more we talk about it and the more that we are putting it in their faces, they see me and they think family engagement. I'm here. Kylie is in the building. I'm a team of one for people that don't know. So it's literally just me and my new department. But we are steadily pushing forward. We just met yesterday as a steering committee, talking about our presentation that we want to put together for this summer's Leadership Academy, if we're granted an opportunity. So we're just continuing to push forward and seek opportunities to get out there.
That's wonderful, Kylie. Thank you so much for being with us, for taking a big chunk of time out of your very busy schedule as a one-woman shop. But I see how you do it. You build you have allies everywhere. and you're drawing on them, and they're co-leading this with you. And
Yes.
just congratulate you and thank you so much.
Thank
Now,
you. Thank
Lisa,
you.
I'm going to throw it to you to introduce a second breakout that we're going to be doing. So you can talk about what you've just heard.
Yes, we have the Padlet up still, and these questions are available when you go into breakout rooms. So after listening to the wonderful presentation by Kylia and Maria, who were here, and what they've been able to do in Polk County, just hasn't even quite been a year yet since they attended the relational leadership intensive in Santa Fe. So a great movement there. And what did you notice that Kylie and Polk County did to establish trust between partners? And if you were to adopt a relationship first approach, what could you learn from parents that would help you do your job better? Are our two focus questions as we move into breakout. And I think we'll be in breakout for about 10 minutes. And come back and talk about what the implications and applications are of relational leadership and a relationships first approach. So we'll move on to breakout rooms now. Well, as we're all coming back now and readjusting to our new virtual location here now as a group, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen one more time, and then George, we have a few minutes left to talk about implications and applications and close our timeout together. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm still grooving from the small group. My gosh.
Right. You got a good one. He's grooving.
How can you have a bad one? Hey, summary. Groups share what they discovered. Shoot, little things. The key that came up is it's the little things, the way you pay attention. Somebody else said it's ensuring for yourself that everyone feels they have a voice. You can't guarantee an equal voice. People have to feel they have a voice. And those techniques do that. And we could go into more of how they do it. Anybody else just want to turn off? We're at the time with a couple minutes and share what you noticed, Kylia did, or what really makes a difference if you're going to apply the relationship first. Just give a minute. Love to see somebody talk. We're down to 53 folks, so that should make it easier for you
George,
to.
I'll share. It's Kylia. I was
Great.
popped into a group, and I felt like they were interviewing me, and I loved it. We just were
Yeah.
talking, and they were asking questions, and I was answering the questions. And I told them I love to share because we want to see the work continue and grow and move forward. So if they can learn anything from us and take it and improve upon it and do it better, by all means, go for it.
Yeah. And thank you, because you weren't in our group, but got a lot of that recognition, Kylia, because you represent what the relationship first approach is about. And this is one of my favorite quotes from one of the best researchers in the world. Relationships first is not about meetings, it's about conversations. It's an ongoing interaction and discovery, and people love it and feel appreciated, and it means something to them because they don't want to just come to a meeting and then feel like they might have to serve on a committee. We want people in conversation, back and forth, learning with and from each other. So thank you, Kylie. You live that and represent. I know people said you probably have people booking some flights if it gets a little warmer down there, say, get out of Connecticut and come down and just spend the day with you.
Come on down. Tell them to come on. Come to Florida. Not right now, though, because it's cold.
No, but am I right, Kylie? That's an open invitation.
Yeah, if they want to come down, we can definitely have people here and we can talk through the things that we've done. I can take them to some of the schools, and I'm sure Maria would love to have them come out to her school and see what she's got going on. So we're always open to things. I just love to share what we're working on. Maybe they have some pointers for us to help us do better and improve. So absolutely.
We have a hand up. We have a hand up there, Dad, from someone else too.
Yohani,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Express that I can really appreciate
this training and the conversations that happened in general, especially my small group. And I want to say that I appreciate the opportunity of not only learning about how to put relationships first, right? And I also want to say that thank you for the opportunity for allowing us to practice it in the small group, because the conversations that you guys are teaching us about is the exact same practice that you allowed us to have in the smaller group sessions.
Oh, wow. Great. Thank you. Yeah, Johanny, it's just great to meet you. So the implication and application, Lisa said it right at the start. Lisa, tell again two things. Relationships are not a thing. What are they?
I came, it's moments you have usually in the shower in the morning as I'm getting ready. Is it just kind of hit me one time? Is it's a verb, so it's not the thing, it's the verb. So I've come up with a new word for it. It's not because a relationship has this tendency to then be seen as a thing, right? And so I call it relationshiping. So if we can always remember that we're in this continual process of being together and learning from one another, and it's the doing, it's the being that creates then the what we decide to do together, which then leads to the agency that we're looking for in families and communities and students, right? And not to forget to include students at all levels, because oftentimes they do feel that their voice is left out completely. And so we always want to encourage that we're including students in that relationshiping piece as well.
Yeah, that dynamic which all the groups have hit in all the ways, and that's what we do together. Uh, but the keys we've been finding, people who've been working with us have found something as simple as closing. When people would enter the room, she finally just said, "Close my computer screen. Just look at them for a minute. Just pay attention to them." And
Right.
everything changed. Or placing your phone screen down instead of looking at it to the side when you're talking about something they care about a lot, or holding meetings in a circle. Or one principal told us, "My door's open, but with the relational leadership was, if they're standing out in the entryway, why am I not going out to them? Why should it be them coming into my office?" Do you see how powerful the behaviors are in simple ways here? And they activate the well-being. And one final statement is that we now know there's a huge conference going. The academics know it because your whole theme is links to learning. And we now know, and it's quite verified, that well-being is a state. Well-being is not a program, it's not a curriculum. Well-being is what supports learning. Well-being is the mechanism enabling all learning. And that's what you see we're creating. If you create the well-being and participate in it, it will take you to the learning you need.
Mm-hmm.
Was that me making all the noise? It's just
No,
somebody. Okay.
yeah.
That's all right. Just checking. All right.
Well, that a nice way to wrap that up. We get these wonderful examples all of the time from people who are activating the relationship first approach in the work they do, and reach out to us if you would like to explore this further on. Here are just some ideas that we came up with. I know Georgia's talked about coming to Santa Fe, and if that's not an option, we have a virtual
I
academy.
so when I met with Kenyon, he seems to.
Oh, we had someone pop in there. And then we had going on a learning journey. We have podcasts on our website. You can jump right in, like the principal from last week that was interviewed with Anne, and just dive in and try a learning walk. And you can talk to us about that. So we're gonna send this off to Judy and the crew and Veronica, and they can get the slide deck off to you, by the way. I heard some people ask. That's not a problem to share the slideshow. We do have our Santa Fe intensives that some people have partaken with. That's June and August, but this also our virtual academy, which are it's a phased approach, and so we would like to work with school teams if they're interested in learning and applying relational leadership in their context. And the very last thing I think before we wind up and have any last words is reach out to us if you'd like to just chat and talk. And we have a website, and you can email myself or George, and we'd love to talk with you as we're all trying to make our communities and our children successful and thriving and moving forward. And it's been a pleasure to kind of run the show. And thank you, Judy and Veronica, for hosting George, Ann, and I today. And Kailia and Maria, thank you so much again. You guys are magnificent in the work that you're doing and such great presenters. So have a wonderful weekend to everyone. And then I think I'm going to turn it over to Judy now.
Great. Thank you all so much. Thank you for joining us from Santa Fe, from Florida. This was really an action-packed master class that usually is about 4 hours, but we condensed it. And so just know it's a taster. It's an entry point, it's an on-ramp. There's so much more, and it's a continual process. And though I've had the pleasure through my leadership of Betsy Laborious and my other colleagues, Dr. Marion, we've been working at this for, I guess, going on 3 years, 2 years, starting our third year. I still feel like a beginner, and I still learn more every time we're together. And it is re-energizing. And I think that is one of the things that comes out from any of the sessions we do, is it really gives us a boost, and we also have fun. And one of the sayings, one of my mantras, once I know you well, I'll say this: let's put the F in family engagement. That's the fun. I'll share it because it's just my close friends here. So this really is life-giving work, and it should be. And that is what also families are looking for, right? It's an effort of attraction. We want to work together. And this work has really been a door opener for many of us who have been in the field for a long time and feeling like we've kind of gotten to a point where we know there's more, we want to do more. And so I call this our way to level up our game.
Yeah.
And so I'm so glad you all were able to be here with us today. Let us know. We have an evaluation for you to fill out. One of the questions is asking if you're interested in learning more. There's different ways we can keep exploring this topic. It is a practice. We're never done. We keep learning. And so we will send you follow-ups. We'll send you the slides. We'll send you more information. And for those of you who are new to Friday Cafe, well, I kind of joke, it's like a cult. Once you're in, you never get out. Or maybe it's like the mall. Once you're in, you never get out. You're on our list, so you're always welcome. Please join us. Let's see, we have March 13th. We're going to be in Danbury. And our topic is going to be working with families who are themselves multilingual learners and their students. And it's really going to be about the systems and what schools and districts do differently when they look in the mirror and say, how can we change our practice to better meet families where they are? And then in May, we're going to be in Mystic. So mark May 15th, you're going to need the whole day, because you got to come to Mystic. Then there's going to be tours of the aquarium, great places to eat lunch. And so just let everybody in your office know it's a full day meeting. Got to go to Mystic. And that's going to be very special, and more information to come. So with that, please do fill out the evaluation. Look for more. And also, George and Lisa and Ann and Kailia and Maria are all very sincere. If you want more information, please do reach out. It's these people and this work is something we all love to talk about. So do really feel free to take them up on that opportunity. And with that, I want to say thank you. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Stay warm. And we hope to see you March 13th in Danbury. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you so
Bye,
much.
everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye, thank you.